It's very, very important to be aligned on the goals from the beginning and the interests of the different parties. We need to bring something to the table that is attractive to them, but also they need to bring something that is attractive to us so that we have at the end a win-win partnership that is profitable for both parties.
Hey, smart biotech scientists, welcome back. We are in the middle of an insightful conversation about translating scientific breakthroughs into clinical therapies. I'm having a conversation with Deana Mohr, who is the CEO and co-founder of MUVON Therapeutics, a clinical stage spin-out from the University of Zurich. Before we continue with part 2 of our episode, please make sure to go back to part 1 if you haven't listened to it. And please leave a review. Tell us how you liked part 1. So you can do this on whatever platform you found us on, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you. So now we are in for a conversation on the development of a novel regenerative therapy platform for the treatment of diseases related to skeletal muscle damage or degradation. Stay tuned. Are you juggling the complexities of CMC development while trying to enjoy the beauty of biotech? Have you ever wondered if there's a way to simplify bioprocessing? Welcome to the Smart Biotech Scientist podcast, where we're diving headfirst into the very challenges you face. We're breaking it down, demystifying the jargon, and giving you the keys to unlock your full potential. I'm your host, David Brohlman, and I get it. With 15 plus years in the biotech industry, I face the same challenges you do. There's a way to simplify and streamline so you can remove complexity, you can skip trials and errors, deliver without delay your groundbreaking therapy to clinics at market, and still enjoy every single step. Do you want to learn how industry experts and I did it? Grab a cup of coffee and your favorite notebook and pen. Now is the time to take your bioprocessing game to the next level. Let's smarten up biotech. Now, a point that's related with that, you said variability, and we talked in the beginning about the quality and the hand-warm media. Let's talk about the compliance, the regulatory compliance, because this is a big thing when you're developing a therapy, whether you're in cell therapy or in other parts of our industry. How did you navigate the regulatory side of things, and what are the strategies you implemented?
So first and utmost important point is to get in touch with the authorities as soon as possible, because these can save you a lot of headache down the road. The tight engagement between the stakeholders, being the regulatory, the legal, the scientists, and the medical, and also now more including the patient representatives, is very crucial for bringing personalized medicine to life and at scale. What we have experienced is that the field evolved quite a lot over the last 5 years, and there are more and more regulations coming out for ATMPs. Now, again, 90% of the regulations are made and based on CAR-Ts, so they are not feasible to be compliant for adherent cells and regenerative medicine and tissue engineered products. There's still room for improvement there, or more. Of course, the majority of therapies are out there and they are as they are, so the guidelines are also made for them. But then we have the challenge of explaining like 3 times more to the authorities why we cannot do this. For example, the killing assay as a potency for the CAR-Ts, it's relatively easy and straightforward to do. But a potency assay for a tissue engineered product, you need to do in vitro the tissue and show some functionality, which is not done in 24 hours. These are these discrepancies that are out there depending on the target, the disease, and the type of therapy that you want to bring on the market. But again, tight collaboration with them and really bringing the attention to your specific case, because every case is special, is very important.
So since not everything is well established yet, and it's still quite a young area of biotech, so what I'm hearing, Deana, is that also while you're talking to the authorities, you find some kind of middle ground, or sometimes you have to adapt certain guidelines because they don't make sense in your specific case, right?
Yes, we cannot, unfortunately, adapt the guidelines, but with a lot of explanation and really reality checks, we are showing that this is how far we can comply to this, but we can give you this, and this additional information to make you feel comfortable. And this is the way how we are doing it for the tissue engineer product, because it's different than immune cells.
And how do you see now this going forward? Because obviously autologous cell therapy is quite challenging because there's a patient population of one. There's a lot of limitations because of that. But how do you see the technology evolve, and how can you also make sure that the scale up is much easier? Because what I heard is it's an adherent cell culture, right?
We believe that the future is really in the automation of those therapies. So you need to make your process as robust, as closed, and as automated as humanly possible today. And including also the newest AI developments for monitoring, controlling, predicting the different critical bioprocess parameters, whether they are in line with these, also reducing the QC costs. And of course, the personnel that is usually needed for manual handling. And with somehow inline cell product quality checks, is also possible to really reach the copy-paste level. Because I see the future being really not these gigafactories and huge GMP facilities, but really to have the microwaves that they are producing your product put there and decentralized, and then some nurse needs to click a button and then you have it in a couple of weeks. So this is, I think, the way to go to really bring those therapies at a price point that is acceptable for society and payers, and also bringing also some revenues to the inventors.
And what needs to happen to bring down the price point? Because unfortunately, most therapies are still so expensive that only a fraction of the population gets access to it. What breakthroughs or what even systems do we need to implement to bring down the cost?
It should be highly autonomous systems that can make educated decisions, I would say, like being able to do, nowadays systems can do cell confluence measurement, cell counting, number, or even morphology and looking inside of the cells to assess their quality. And I think combining all these parameters that can be tested inline in a black box that is working by itself with isolating, making the cells. Now with CAR-T, with the part with the genetic modification, it is more tricky because it includes a lot of also external work to do those viruses. But in our case, it's much easier to be really made at scale, fully automated, safe, and in a quick time. So I think it's just a money problem. You need to find the right investors who believe and who want to support you on the way to make this happen. And then once you have the end-to-end black box, you can copy-paste it. And it's just a matter of having a nice dedicated engineering partner to produce at scale.
Now, let's talk about partners, because you are a small company and you cannot do it all. As a small company, you need to heavily rely on partners and collaborations. How do you envision that, and what is your strategy?
Yes, we are working with several partners already from the early days to enable the commercial scale of our therapy. So we started thinking about it really in the early days, basically 5 weeks after my PhD thesis, because we understood that it is hundreds of millions of patients that are out there for our therapy. So we need to make it cheap. We need to make it reproducible and at scale. So we need the right partners with the right capabilities, experience, and willingness to do so. And what I could summarize from the learning is that it is very, very important to be aligned on the goals from the beginning and the interests of the different parties. We need to bring something to the table that is attractive to them, but also they need to bring something that is attractive to us so that we have at the end a win-win partnership that is profitable for both parties. I think different shared IP models, for example, for different indications or different markets, is also a very viable model that allow you to proceed faster to your target and then at the same time allowing your partner also to open doors for other markets, indications, or therapies. And this mutual value bringing is vital for a fruitful partnership that it can thrive at the end. During COVID, it was, I would say, tougher because everything was just online. We couldn't see the people. So really sustaining the friendship was more challenging back then because we realized really every time, okay, you take the plane, you fly 2 hours, then you sit for 2 days, and then you manage to align on points where you're dragging yourself on Zoom for 2 months. And it's really this sit together, have the whiteboard, zack, zack, zack. Okay, we understand each other, we align, we shake hands, and then we can continue faster to a common bright future.
And where do you find these great partners? Are these through your network or conferences, or how do you do that?
Majority was through network, people who know people, a lot of LinkedIn stalking, I would say. And the more we are also out there, the more people are also contacting us for making something together. And then the other limitations come from our side that we are only 17 people today. And we would love to make many more things, but now we just don't have the capacities at the moment. If we would have unlimited funding, which is not usually the case for a startup, then we could do a lot of more partnership and collaborations, but it's a chicken and egg problem.
But, well, 17 people already is quite a success story, I mean, in a few years. So now looking forward, what is your vision as a company and where would you go? Let's say we're having this conversation in 5 years from now. What do you want to have happened in the next 5 years?
Ideally, to be bringing our first lead indication really to the largest markets in the world. And whether on our own or with partnership, this is the future will tell. And also slowly bringing also the other pipeline indications to human trials. Because the female stress urinary incontinence is just a beginning for us and proof of concept that it's working. And we are now really focusing on making this automation a reality so that we can really do copy-paste and conquer the world.
Excellent, to conquer the world. I love that. There's a lot of things going on in the cell therapy space, and hopefully these therapies will conquer the world because there's a lot of potential. What emerging trends or technology do you find the most promising for the future of autologous cell therapy?
Tricky question. I would say that I find it very encouraging that since last year, the field is getting more heterogeneous, I would say, that it's not only cancer out there, but now also autoimmune diseases are starting to come up and other diseases like regenerative medicine treatments are also on the way. So I think this development of this more heterogeneous distribution of the cells and the targets is very positive development in the field, showing that you can do also other diseases. Not saying that cancer is not important, but there are also other diseases which are at least as debilitating as this.
As we are wrapping up, Deana, what is the most important takeaway from our conversation?
The most important takeaway, I think that it is important for all the stakeholders that are connected in this ATMP field, being it the regulatory bodies, being it the investors, being it the developers of the therapies, to really sit at the same table and make the best decisions that are for the patients out there. And wishful thinking to involve lesser politics in these decisions, but really to think about the good of patients.
Fantastic. Deana, where can people connect with you?
We have a very nicely set LinkedIn page of the company. To me personally, you can also connect over LinkedIn. And other source is our website. It's www.movon-therapeutics.ch, where you can find all the information and you can contact us there also over the info@email.
Fantastic. Smart biotech scientists, please reach out to Deana, connect and look at this exciting therapy and study it. They're doing an exciting and important work. And once again, Deana, thank you very much for being on the show and sharing your exciting story and your insights.
Thanks a lot. Pleasure, David.
Hey, smart biotech scientists. Thank you for tuning in today. What did you think about today's episode? Please tell us by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts or whatever platform you found us on. And perhaps you are wondering how you can translate your scientific breakthroughs into clinical therapies as well. If this is the case, I want to offer you a free assessment to analyze your specific situation and to help you get started. And we have now developed a fractional CTO service to do exactly that, where we come in and help you navigate the transition from the lab into the clinical production and later also into the large-scale production. So if this sounds interesting, how we can help with our fractional CTO services, please book a call. It's free. Just use the link down in the show notes, and I look forward to seeing you on the call. All right, smart scientists. That's all for today on the Smart Biotech Scientist podcast. Thank you for tuning in and joining us on your journey to bioprocess mastery. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast platform. By doing so, we can empower more scientists like you. For additional bioprocessing tips, visit us at smartbiotechscientist.com. Stay tuned for more inspiring biotech insights in our next episode. Until then, let's continue to smarten up biotech.